from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
A major beef between ABC News and a South Dakota processor gets settled in agribusiness. Is the weather market over?
This is the time of year when you get like one good weather rally, one good summer rally, and it's terrifying to think that maybe that was it, that we just saw it.
Drovers TV looks at the bull market for 2017 and combining service with safety this holiday weekend.
Agday, brought to you by the dependable, longest-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. After 3 weeks of testimony and in a defamation lawsuit against ABC News for its use of the phrase pink slime, there's an abrupt end to the case in South Dakota. Beef Products Incorporated has settled with ABC for an undisclosed amount. BPI was seeking nearly $2 billion over the network's reports on its lean, finely textured beef product. Now, terms of the settlement are confidential.
It's been a long road for BPI. But it was a road that was necessary to have this litigation, to have this trial, in order to rectify the harm that was caused by what we believe to be baseless and biased reporting that occurred in 2012.
Given the high legal threshold Beef Products Inc. faced in order to prevail in their lawsuit against ABC News, this settlement is surprising. However, I think it confirms what BPI argued during the 18 days of the trial, that lean, finely textured beef is a safe and wholesome beef product, and it helps our industry eliminate food waste.
ABC reporter Jim Avila was at the center of the case. He told KTIV TV, quoting here, "I think it's important to note that we are not retracting anything and we are not apologizing for anything. I want people to understand that I understand it was a business decision and I do support my company's decision." Meanwhile, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue is in China as the nation agrees to accept imports of U.S. beef. The two nations agreeing to terms 2 weeks ago. China banned U.S. beef following the BSE scare back in 2003. Perdue's visit coincides with Ambassador Terry Branstad's first few days on the job in China. Branstad is the former 6-term governor of Iowa. He's known Chinese President Xi Jinping since Xi visited Iowa on a 1985 trade trip. USDA will release its quarterly hogs and pigs report this afternoon. A poll conducted by Reuters showing analysts on average expect a U.S. hog inventory of roughly 71.5 million head. That's 3.3% higher than last year. Purdue Ag economist Chris Hurt says the increased packing space coming online could create a strong bid and price for hogs, a potential change from depressed hog prices last year.
Last year was not a very profitable year. In fact, we look at losses for 2016 of around $11 per head. Now, what that means is there really hasn't been a strong financial incentive for pork producers to have this bright outlook for expansion. So I think we're going to continue to keep the breeding herd something in the 1% to 2% higher range. That's about what we've been seeing. So I don't think we see any strong ramp up in expansion. But we don't see a decline, a touch of expansion.
Hurt anticipates the market herd to be 3.3% higher. He says that's likely going to give the U.S. 4% more market hogs by midsummer. He thinks that percentage will shrink by December of 2017. It isn't dead yet. That's the caution from ag groups as they react to the latest move by EPA to repeal its Waters of the U.S. rule. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt telling lawmakers Tuesday that the EPA has sent its repeal of the Waters of the U.S. rule to the Federal Register. That begins the process of ending the regulation. The formal withdrawal of the Obama-era rule follows through on a campaign promise by President Trump, who signed an executive order requiring an EPA review of that rule. When the regulation went into effect back in August of 2015, a federal court put the rule on hold. EPA intends to follow the federal rulemaking process in repealing that rule. As markets gear up for the latest acreage report due out from USDA Friday, yield expectations are ramping up. A company called TELUS Labs is using satellite imagery to calculate yields. Areas in green are better than last year. Red is worse. As of this week, its models predict an end-year yield of 166 bushels to the acre for corn and 49.5 bushels to the acre for soybeans. While it admits it's early in the season, our partners over at Farm Journal Pro say that could drop corn carryout below the 2 billion bushel mark. The Northern Plains had quite the storm earlier this week. Mike Hoffman joining us now with an update. Mike?
Thanks, Clinton. Darren Fisher in Jackson County, Minnesota got caught in that storm earlier in the week. He had 3.9 inches in his rain gauge as of Wednesday morning. USDA says 76% of Minnesota's soybean crop is rated good to excellent. Those numbers were tallied before the rain hit, though. South of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, luckily missed some of that action. This farmer received just under 2 inches of rain. Areas around him received much more. He welcomes the precipitation for pastures and alfalfa, but not so much for his row crops, as you can see there. Now switching gears with a sorghum update. Cody Goodnight in Chattanooga, Oklahoma says the sorghum is a little over half headed out and most of the crop is in good condition in his area. A nice shower over the weekend helped that. USDA says 73% of Oklahoma's sorghum crop is rated good to excellent. And taking a look at the weather map, you can see a storm system coming into the southern Mississippi Valley with lots of tropical moisture. And a couple of systems in the northern plains will put down some pretty heavy rains in places. We'll talk about that coming up in weather. First, here are some hometown temps.
Visit farmjournalpro.com. Trusted analysis, professional insight. farmjournalpro.com.
When we come back, we'll talk about the recent bump in grain prices and whether the weather market rally is over for the summer. And later, this Missouri man served his country. Now, ahead of the July 4th celebration, he's taking time to remind America about being safe this holiday weekend.
Get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. Visit lovelandproducts.com/radiate. See your CPS dealer today.
In agribusiness, plenty of green on the board in Chicago, including another big day for spring wheat. Let's get details from the floor of the CME in Chicago.
Hi, grain markets basically not doing a whole heck of a lot here today. The two markets that are doing something are the wheat and the rice markets. Rice breaking out from what appears to be a bull flag. If so, it should hold the current prices up about 15 cents or so and continue to march higher as we go through the reports at the end of the week. Looking at the wheat, really it's been Minneapolis that's been the leader and continues to just chug along, now above $7 and approaching some longer term technical targets up around $7.25 to $7.50. That's helped the Chicago hard red and soft red winter markets hold some firmness together. Both those markets are holding together in uptrends, but really relying on Minneapolis for strength. It's been a higher day in both the cattle and the hog markets. Cattle markets showing some slight signs of recovery despite the fact that the beef market is under some pressure here today. And the electronic auction for live cattle traded somewhat lower today, actually 119, 120 where the price is being paid. That's weaker than last week, and it's the second week in a row that we've had some significantly lower prices. So it appears that the live cattle market really kind of living on borrowed time right now. Thanks very much. This is Jack Scoville. I'm Vice President of Price Futures Group here on the CME Group floor with some comments for the markets today.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, we have Elaine Cubb, author of Mastering the Grain Markets. Elaine, let's talk about this weather market, weather bump, this speed bump we had, pothole maybe that we had in June. You know, a year ago we had a big run. This year it seems like it was just this big.
Yeah, and it's quite expected. This is the time of year when you get like one good weather rally, one good summer rally, and it's terrifying to think that maybe that was it, that we just saw it. But that one didn't even pull the speculators out of their net short position. They were still bearish. They had one big day of short covering, but then that was it. Then they just went back to selling. So I think there's still potential for that. And I think given the lateness of the crop, given the way that the entire agronomic potential is just going to be a few weeks later this year than previous years, maybe we will be looking more into early July than late June for that one good summer rally.
Okay, so it's not time to give up yet, but when you start looking at the crop as a whole around, there's a lot of little pockets, or maybe they're not little pockets, but big pockets where there was trouble in this spring season.
Yeah, so there's a phenomenon, backyarditis, right? You look in your own backyard and you think that the entire market should be reacting to this thing. And in my backyard, it's a drought. And in a lot of backyards in the Corn Belt, it was wet weather or wet roots and troubles from that. So there's lots of these things with different problems. There's a few areas that are probably going to have record yields for sure, but there's enough of these little problems scattered around that I think we've definitely taken the record-breaking potential off of the U.S. crop in 2017.
Okay, so what does that mean? If we've taken that record-breaking potential off as we get towards harvest, is that when we start to see maybe we could see a little more momentum?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we need to see, or the speculators might want to see USDA projections bringing that corn yield down. If USDA projects corn yield below 170, I think that confirmation could start to spook that speculative side of the market.
All right, will be something to watch. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
For more marketing advice, you can find Elaine's book, Mastering the Grain Markets, How Profits Are Really Made, on Amazon and elsewhere.
Ever wake up wondering what does today's weather have in store? Well, with weather updates, it delivers the local forecast right to your cell phone each morning to make preparing for the day easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Our meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at the weather map, trying to make sense of where storms are going to pop up and where they aren't.
Well, and that's the hard part this time of year. Obviously, you can get some big complexes of storms, but typically it's more hit and miss. Of course, the tropical-like system in the southern portions of the Mississippi Valley will put down some pretty good rains in a large area as it moves northward then eastward. But these two systems here, western Great Lakes back into basically Kansas and Nebraska, we're just going to have to watch where the big thunderstorms develop, and our computer model will show several pockets of them developing over the next 36 to 48 hours. Southern system moves inland. It's not going to be a tropical storm or anything, but anytime you get tropical moisture involved, it can put down some pretty heavy rains. And we have a lingering system kind of diving into the northern plains that will produce some showers as well. Now, heading through tomorrow morning, the first system moving through Maine, second one to the northwest of Chicago. That will continue to move off to the northeast, as you can see, and just kind of areas of showers and thunderstorms throughout the I-80 corridor, basically, over the next 36 to 48 hours, along with that system down south. So there's a precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours. You can see already some heavier amounts, and some of those big thunderstorms that develop, also some heavy amounts along the coast of Louisiana. Adding in the next 36 hours, we will continue to see some pockets of pretty heavy precipitation across the northern and central Mississippi Valley, and of course the southern Mississippi Valley with that tropical-like system down there. So that's a fair amount of rain in places, but of course other places don't get much at all, as you can see there. High temperatures this afternoon, 90s and 100s for western Texas into the southern plains, but 60s and 70s northern plains, northern Great Lakes area. So that's a little bit on the cool side. It is going to warm up and become more humid than you've seen recently over the central Mississippi Valley and into the Ohio Valley. You can see lows tonight only in the low to mid 70s in those areas, but still chilly across the Dakotas. High temperatures tomorrow afternoon, cools down a little bit in the panhandle of Texas, and that heat starts to move a little bit farther to the south and east. There's the jet stream. As we head through time, we are going to see some small little ripples keeping things on the cooler side across many parts of the northern states, but I don't see it being as cool as it has been recently in much of that area. And you can see by the middle and latter parts of next week, the jet stream's pretty far north. That could put some pretty good heat for the southern half of the country with some ups and downs farther north. That's a look across the country. Now here are some local forecasts. First of all, Junta, Colorado, partly sunny and hot, maybe an afternoon thunderstorm, high of 96. Rockford, Illinois, warm and more humid, a thunderstorm around, high of 84. And finally, Aiken, South Carolina, a spotty afternoon thunderstorm, high of 84.
When we come back, check on cattle markets and recent trends for bull buyers, and later, staying safe this Independence Day. A reminder about fireworks safety from a soldier in Missouri. On Drovers TV, the latest Sterling profit tracker showing a dramatic shift in profits from feeders to packers. Falling cash prices are a big part of that reason. Feed yard margins dropping to $285 per head. That's down more than $150 in the last week alone. Cattle prices are off $15 in the past 2 weeks. Currently, cash profit margins for cow-calf producers this year set to average $111 per cow. Those tighter margins at the ranch are bleeding over into the bull market. Over the past year, sellers say while bull markets were hot in 14 and 15 during the peak of cattle prices, by fall of last year, customers began pulling back. But a better than expected price rally this spring has enticed those buyers back into the market, but shoppers are being more selective.
And as we looked at the bullishness of the beef business and we look at better prices that we've all enjoyed than what was expected, we've seen people reinvesting and we've seen increased demand. And we've always felt this way in our family, that people will invest in genetics that will make them money if those genetics are available, and if they're not good enough, they're not going to bid at any price. And
the gardeners faced their own challenges this spring. A massive wildfire burned across their property. Mark's house was destroyed, along with nearly 250 miles of fencing. A man who grew up impoverished in his home country of Nigeria, rising to leadership roles in that same country, is this year's laureate of the World Food Prize. Akinwumi Adesina received the honor this week for his work as a reformer and leader of the agricultural sector in Africa. He is currently president of the African Development Bank Group. The World Food Prize is often referred to as the Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture. It's the highest international honor recognizing the achievements of those who have advanced human development by improving the quality, quantity, and availability of food in the world. The president of the World Food Prize made the announcement Monday during a ceremony at USDA's headquarters in Washington.
Our laureate, having grown up in poverty himself, learned the critical value of education, and having attained a college degree in his home country, he then obtained graduate degree from Purdue University and then embarked on a journey to use his academic training to, as he said, lift up millions of people out of poverty, especially farmers in rural Africa.
I want to just tell you that what he did and what he has done, I think fits right in with what we're trying to do here at USDA, because we all have a challenge. Dr. Adesina knows that our work is not done. The challenge of feeding 9 billion people in just a very short time will continue as we address the hunger issue. We've adopted a new motto for the United States Department of Agriculture, and I think it fits very nobly and very appropriately with Dr. Adesina's work, and that is, do right and feed everyone.
Adesina was appointed as Minister of Agriculture for Nigeria back in 2011 and spoke of Nigeria's need to unlock its agricultural potential. Adesina joins 2 other faculty members from Purdue University who received the World Food Prize. Gabisa Ijeta received his in 2009. Philip Nelson was named laureate in 2007. As the 4th of July approaches, fireworks are already popping up around the country. Next, meet a Missouri man who's familiar with large explosions, but he too is a victim of those fireworks.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota's full line of field-proven hay tools. Explore the full lineup at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Fireworks can be fun and patriotic around Independence Day festivities, but it's always important to be careful. Ken Faddis of the University of Missouri has the story of a Marine who learned a difficult lesson on the 4th and is changing the way he celebrates.
Patrick Fleener has a love of target practice. The former Marine is no stranger to dangerous situations, shooting guns and being around explosives. After his tour of duty was over, Fleener wanted to make some noise on the 4th of July.
I hadn't lit a firework in 5 or 6 years, so I was actually really excited to, barbecue, blow some stuff up, and celebrate America.
But the celebration turned tragic for him.
Next thing I know, I'm covering my eye and in a lot of pain.
According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, in 2015, 11 people died from using fireworks, while more than 11,000 people were taken to the hospital. A University of Missouri healthcare burn surgeon sees about a dozen patients injured by fireworks around the 4th of July.
They are, in fact, explosives and can range from several hundred degrees to 1,000 or more degrees in the temperatures that they get.
And injuries can happen in the blink of an eye.
The firework blew up as soon as I lit it, and I didn't even have time to turn around or run away or anything.
A faulty fuse caused the firework to explode directly into Fleener's eye.
I did 4 years of, shooting machine guns and being in harm's way, you could say, and never even came close to an injury like that.
A year after the accident, Fleener can barely see anything out of his left eye. But the former Marine remains thankful.
It could have been much worse.
From the University of Missouri, I'm Kent Faddis reporting.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, spend part of your day with us. For Mike Hoffman and all of us here at Agday, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Agday is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest lasting pickups.